How to ship products from China? Wow, that's a really big and complicated question, but it's so important for anyone who wants to import products from China. I have checked the whole internet, including blog posts and YouTube videos, but find no one has completely introduced all the possible shipping solutions, especially for small businesses. Most of them are still talking about alternate ways like sea freight and air freight, which are more suitable for traditional trading but not that friendly for e-commerce. Sea freight is cheap but slow. Air freight is fast but expensive. Their biggest disadvantage is that they are not suitable for small shipments that is less than 500 kilograms. And also, many importers are very eager to find other solutions to achieve better balance between the shipping time and cost. That's why I make such a comprehensive video to teach you how to ship from China and review all those practical shipping solutions. So today's content will be super helpful for you to choose the best solution no matter you ship small cargoes like 20 kilograms or large cargoes of 1,000 kilograms. Welcome to watch the Import from China Guide video series. I'm Jing, the founder of Jing Sourcing, the leading China sourcing company since 2015, and I will teach you the most practical tips to import quality products from China, and make sure you get subscribed. Before introducing the shipping solutions one by one, I'd like to let you know some basic knowledges of international trading and logistics. No matter which shipping solution you choose, there are 4 roles in the whole process. The shipper is your product supplier. The consignee is you. Shipping companies are those who own trucks, vessels, or aircrafts, and they literally ship the products. Except for Courier, all shipping solutions need several different shipping companies to work together to finally deliver to your hand, and you never need to directly deal with them. There's a very important role called freight forwarder. He acts like a broker that coordinates with all shipping companies to pick up cargoes at a supplier's warehouse and deliver to you. And he will also help handle the import and export process. That means either you or your Chinese supplier need to find a freight forwarder. There are tens of thousands of freight forwarders in the world. They could be a company or just an individual person who works at home. It's very hard to identify who is trustworthy. And their most common trick is that quote you a very low shipping price at the beginning. When pick up your product, they either overmeasure your cargo size or charge you higher cost. So if you don't know any freight forwarders, it's better to ask your Chinese suppliers to find one, even though they will add some profit on the shipping fee. But if the cargo is lost or damaged during the shipping, supplier should pay some responsibility on it because it's his freight forwarder. If you prefer to use own freight forwarder instead of suppliers, then you can ask somebody that you can trust to recommend one, or go to Google to search freight forwarders, or try freight forwarder platforms like Freightos or Flexport to find one. Freightos is quite easy to use. You just put in cargo information like volumes, weight, the city to pick up, and the city to deliver the cargo. Then you will get a list of freight forwarders with their quotes, just like how you're booking tickets online. But you are only allowed to contact with them after you choose one freight forwarder and finish the payment online. The quote you see is not the final cost. It's just for the delivery to the city instead of your home address. You have to communicate with the freight forwarder to get the total cost. I did some tests on Freightos and find it's only suitable when you want to ship by traditional sea freight or air freight to countries in North America, UK, West Europe, and also Australia. For other shipping methods or other countries, it's better to find freight forwarders somewhere else. Before you choose any shipping method, there's a very important thing that you should know. That is incoterm. It has a list of trade terms to define the responsibility between the buyer and the seller on how to deliver products. And when you ask supplier the product price, you also need to tell them which trade term should be based. Otherwise, you will pay extra costs that you haven't expected. Even though there are a list of incoterms, you only need to understand these 5: EXW, FOB, CIF, DDU, and DDP. In one of my previous videos, How to Get Precise Quote, the Module 3, Episode 1 of the Import from China Guide series, I have explained quite detailed for these incoterms. You can check that video out. But for today's content, I will just give you the conclusion of these 5 incoterms. EXW means you need to find someone to pick up cargoes at a supplier's warehouse. The product price quoted in EXW term is just the product cost, and the supplier didn't offer any shipping or exporting service. FOB is short for free on board. Supplier pays all the costs to deliver products to a seaport or airport in China, and also he will pay the exporting cost. You only need to find your own freight forwarders to pick up cargoes at the port. However, if you choose to ship by courier like FedEx, you should pay supplier in EXW term, because courier companies will pick up cargo at a supplier's warehouse instead of a seaport. And courier shipping cost includes everything from suppliers to you. The CIF term means supplier will find a freight forwarder by himself and pays all the cost from his warehouse in China to a seaport or airport in your country. You only need to find a freight forwarder to pick up cargoes at the port of your country, finish the import custom process, and deliver to your hand. For the DDU and DDP terms, the supplier will find a freight forwarder and pays all the costs to deliver to you. The only difference between these two terms is whether the supplier needs to pay the import duty. DDU and DDP are short for Delivered Duty Unpaid and Delivered Duty Paid. By understanding these 5 incoterms, you probably know which one you should ask supplier to quote you for the products according to your situation. For most e-commerce sellers and new importers, courier service is very frequently used. It's the easiest, fastest, but most expensive. Most Chinese suppliers call it express shipping. The service is only offered by big companies like FedEx, DHL, UPS, TNT, who have worldwide delivery networks. The whole process from pick up cargoes at suppliers to deliver to you is handled by the same company. They help you handle the import and export process, charge the import duty either from you or from supplier in the end. In short, courier service has these advantages. Fast, it only takes 3 to 5 days to deliver to most countries. The easiest way to finish the import custom clearance, less compliance certification needed than other shipping methods. The shipping quote is very simple. It's just charge a fixed price by each kilogram. The same unit price to ship to any addresses as long as they're in the same country. So how much does the courier service cost for each kilogram? Of course, it depends on which country you are going to ship to, and the price is always changing according to the demand of the shipping market. Generally, it's about $6 to $7 to ship from China to countries in North America and west of Europe. It's cheaper to send to countries in Asia and more expensive to send to other areas. But for high seasons like the last month before Chinese New Year and Christmas, it's the most expensive time of the year. For unusual situations like the pandemic in 2020, the price is almost doubled because the numbers of flights between China and other countries is reduced, but the demand of all types of products from China increased a lot, especially personal protective products. In addition, small parcels that are less than 20 kg will be more expensive than regular cargoes because there is a minimum charge about $20 for small parcels, even though you just send a piece of paper. Don't be surprised that the shipping fee for a bottle sample costs $20, but the average courier cost is just $1 each bottle when you ship in large quantity. So how to ship products by courier? Of course, you don't contact courier companies like FedEx directly because the official price is very expensive. In most cases, Chinese suppliers will help you find a courier agent company to ship products because these companies have very large shipping volumes every day and can get over 40% discount from courier companies. Well, there are also some exceptions, such as when the pandemic was firstly breaking out. FedEx in China gave most business accounts very little shipping volume limit, like 100 kg every day. For those days, it's also very hard for our company to help our client to ship our products. And it's better to ask our clients to contact their local FedEx to pick up cargoes in China to avoid this limit. When you choose to ship by courier, there's a very important thing you should know is the dimensional weight, because the shipping fee is not simply charged by weight, but also by size. Let me give you a very simple example. There are two shipments. One is big empty box. The weight is only 10 kg and the volume is 1 cubic meter. The other shipment is the same box but full of products inside, and the total weight is 300 kgs. Of course, for the first shipment, courier company can't charge you the shipping fee by 10 kg because the shipping space in airplane is very expensive. So they will convert the shipment's volume into dimensional weight and compare it with the real weight. Then the shipping company will charge you by the bigger one. Most international courier companies have the same way to calculate dimensional weight. It's length in centimeter times width times height. So the dimensional weight of the 1 cubic meter empty box is 200 kg and the shipping cost is charged by 200 kg instead of 10. That means for courier shipping, it's not suitable for big size but low value products such as toilet paper, disposable tablewares, because the courier shipping fee is more expensive than products. In addition, products that has lithium batteries, liquid or powders are also not suggested to use courier because they are not allowed for air shipping. If you really want to do that, then a few of courier agents in China have special ways to ship out, but the cost will be at least 50% higher. Sea freight is the most common shipping method for traditional trading because it's the cheapest. A big difference from courier is that sea freight shipping doesn't have a big company like FedEx to handle the whole shipping and custom process by itself. Instead, you or the product supplier need to find a freight forwarder, the role I had mentioned in the section 1. He handles things like finding a truck to pick up cargo at a supplier's warehouse, booking a container from sea shipping company, finding custom brokers to finish the import and export process, and finding a truck to deliver from the port to your warehouse. And this is how the sea freight works. There are tens of thousands of people or small companies are doing this job. Of course, the service is much worse than the courier, and there's no tracking system on website to let you know the location of your cargoes. For sea freight, all products are shipped by containers. There are two mostly used containers, 20 feet and 40 feet, and their shipping volume are 28 CBNs and 68 CBNs. If you have a large shipment over than 20 CBN, then it's better to ask freight forwarders to book a container only for you, and this is called FCL, full container load. But for small shipment, it's better to ship by LCL, less than container load, that your freight forwarder will help you share a container with other people to save your shipping cost. If your shipment is less than 2 CBN, I don't suggest you choose sea freight because there's several thousand US$ fixed cost in each shipment. When the shipping volume is small, the average cost on each CBN will be quite expensive. In this situation, the sea freight shipping is no longer cost effective because the shipping time is too long. So how much does the sea freight cost from China to your country? It's more complicated than the way to calculate courier shipping fee. According to the process, there's land shipping cost from the supplier to a seaport in China, the exporting cost, sea shipping cost, importing cost, the seaport cost in your country, and also the land shipping cost from the seaport to your warehouse. When you ask quote from freight forwarders, they probably will give you a cost breakdown like this. You can see the cost for shipping on the sea is just a very small part of the total cost. Most of the cost happens at the destination port, import process, and also the land shipping to your address. For the sea shipping part, in alternate days, it only costs around $3,000 to ship a 40 feet, 680 CBN container from a Chinese port to a port in the US or west of Europe. The cost will rise up to $5,000 for the most expensive season, such as the last month before Chinese New Year. However, this cost rises to $10,000 during the last month before the Chinese New Year in 2021, and the average cost in 2020 is also around $5,000, which is double price of previous years when there's no pandemic. As you can see, the sea freight shipping cost is very complicated, but I can still give you a rough idea about what's the cost to ship from China to your door. It's about $100 to $200 per cubic meter to ship areas not far away from the west coast of the United States, around $200 to $300 per cubic meter to areas not far away from the east coast of the US, and more than $300 to areas in the middle of the US. For shipping to countries in the west of Europe, the cost is about $200 to $300. To countries in South America, the cost will be more than $400 per CBN. Please note that the price per CBN I mentioned above is just for reference when there's no pandemic. If you'd like to get a reference price for recent days, you can go to Freightos to have a look. Generally, the total shipping cost of sea freight is about 85% lower than air courier. As you know, sea freight is the cheapest and the slowest shipping solution. Then, how slow it is to ship from a seaport in China to deliver to your doorstep in your country. To countries in Southeast Asia, it takes 15 to 20 days. To west part of the US, 25 to 35 days. East part of the US, 35 to 50 days. To UK, around 40 days. To countries in Europe, 40 to 50 days. For other countries and areas that are more far away from China, usually need at least 40 days. The long shipping time is not mainly due to the shipping time on the sea, but also due to the complicated importing process and due to the land shipping company's schedule of delivery to your address. The number 3 shipping method I'm going to talk is air freight. Most of you may wonder what is the difference between the air freight and courier, since both of them are shipped by air. As I have mentioned, for courier service, there's a big company to handle every step of the whole shipping and importing process by themselves. But the way how do air freight and sea freight work is almost the same. There's no such a big company existing like FedEx. You or your supplier need to find a freight forwarder who helps you book shipping space from airlines, find custom brokers to do the import and export process, and also find trucks to deliver from the airport to your warehouse. So what is the advantage of air freight when compared with courier? What is the shipping cost for air freight? Of course, the biggest advantage is lower price, and generally you can save the shipping cost around 20% than courier. However, you can only consider air freight when the shipment is more than 500 kg. Because just like sea freight, there are also a lot of fixed costs in every air freight shipment. It turns out the courier is cheaper than air freight for cargoes less than 500 kg. So 100% you will choose courier because it's better service, easier for custom clearance, and days faster to deliver. Well, air freight also has another advantage. That is, for the same volume of cargo, the dimensional weight calculated by air freight is about 20% smaller than air courier. That's because the way to calculate dimensional weight by air freight is length times width times height, then divide 6,000. But the air courier is to divide 5,000. That means if you ship big size but lightweight products, it's about 34% cheaper than sent by air freight. And there's another thing you should pay attention that for air courier shipping, the importing custom clearance will be harder than being shipped by courier. You need to provide related compliance certifications which are required by the custom. But courier companies don't need compliance certifications like air freight does, because it's much easier for courier companies to handle custom clearance than those custom brokers hired by your freight forwarder. For shipping to European countries, sea freight takes 30 to 50 days to arrive. It's extremely long time. Air freight and air courier just take less than a week, but the cost is 5 to 8 times more expensive than sea freight. So here comes the railway freight, which makes a very good balance between the shipping time and the cost. And it's really helpful to ship to countries in the east of Europe and west of Asia, which are far away from any seaports. The shipping fee is about 2 times of sea freight, but the shipping time is only half of it, just 15 to 20 days. The less shipping time can help a lot of people to ease their cash flow pressure. Well, the biggest disadvantage of railway freight is that it's only available to ship to several countries in Europe, and they should be on the China to Europe railway line. Well, the railway shipping still has very small market demand, and most freight forwarders can't help you share a container with other people. So you have to ship products by full container load. That's not friendly for most new importers. Sea freight is cheap, but it takes over a month, and it's only suitable for cargoes over than 2 cubic meters. Air courier is suitable for less than 500 kilogram cargoes, but it's 5 to 8 times more expensive than sea freight. The railway is good on both time and cost, but you have to ship by full container load, and you can't ship to the United States. So several years ago, there were some smart freight forwarders figuring out a way to combine the sea freight and the courier. They help many clients to share a full container load to ship to the west coast of the US and ask the local courier company like UPS to ship from the port to different addresses in the US. The good thing is that you can even ship a small cargo like 50 or 100 kgs, which is not possible for ordinary sea freight LCL. The total shipping cost is about $2 each kilogram, which is around 2 times of the total cost for sending by ordinary sea freight. But the shipping time from a Chinese port to the final destination in US is just around 20 days. That is 20 to 50% shorter than ordinary sea freight. Those freight forwarders apply the same solution to combine air freight and local courier companies. And that is around 20% cheaper than air courier directly from China, but just several days slower. Not only for the US, this solution is also available for shipping to UK, Germany, and other countries where there are Amazon fulfillment centers. Because this solution is mainly designed for Amazon sellers who want to ship small quantity to Amazon warehouse and who want a cheap but faster shipping than sea freight. Well, some freight forwarders even combine railway freight with courier to ship to European countries to give clients more options. Generally, this is the most popular shipping solution for e-commerce sellers, especially for Amazon FBA sellers, because it's cheap and suitable for small shipments. If you want to choose this shipping solution, it's better to ask a freight forwarder who is based in China and also specialized in shipping to Amazon. Shipping methods I have introduced in the previous sections are used for shipping products in bulk. At least you need to ship over than 20 kg each time. But for dropshipping sellers who don't want to keep inventory but prefer ask supplier to ship the product directly from China to their customers, they can afford air courier because the minimum charge is about $20 even you just ship a piece of paper. So their Chinese suppliers help them ship each product by Epackage, which is perfect for small parcels less than 1 kilogram. There are many Chinese companies offering Epackage service, and the most famous are China Post and Ep1. These companies ship tens of thousands of parcels each time by air freight from China to the airport of the destination country, then use local postal service to finish the last delivery. The biggest advantage of Epackage is that the minimum shipment could start from just 20 grams, and the shipping fee is charged by each gram. That's perfect for sending small gadgets and cheap fashion jewelries. All dropshipping sellers, Wish seller, AliExpress sellers are using this shipping method. Well, cheap solutions always has a lot of disadvantages. Epackage is very slow and not stable when compared with air courier. It takes 10 to 20 days to deliver, and sometimes the package will get lost. So how much does Epackage cost? The best way is to check the website of the famous Epackage company, Ep1. It's ew56.com.cn. Choose the city in China as being sent from and the country you sent to. Put in the estimated weight of each parcel, then you will get a list of quotes of package solutions provided by different companies. It's easy to find a solution named EUB, and that's the China Post Epackage, which is one of the best, and you can take its price as a reference. For Chinese suppliers who offers dropshipping service, all of them have connection with Epackage companies. But if you want to order products in large quantity from manufacturers or wholesale suppliers who don't offer the dropshipping fulfillment service, then you'd better to find a fulfillment center in China or contact our company for help. Because Epackage companies, they only help ship but don't do fulfillment. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you can get a lot of valuable information about how to ship products from China. Do you have any question about today's topic? Please leave in the comment. If you like today's video, please give a thumbs up and also get subscribed. And I will see you in the next video.